I keep coming across this general notion: to be a well-read person or to appreciate the greatest classics, one must read a lot and consume vast amounts of information. It seems that in today's society, people are fed with a lot of information daily. And in this so-called information age, there is this notion that everyone has access to information and culture. There are numerous apps now that claim to allow you to read a book in 15 minutes that would normally take 3 or many more hours, and there are countless summaries, audiobooks, and Spark Notes available online to provide you with a condensed version of a story, of a book. Now, while many YouTube videos do an excellent job of highlighting the key points of novels or philosophical works, and that is something that I have done myself, so I think there is value in that, the focus on rapid information consumption may have overshadowed the simple pleasure of slowing down to truly immerse oneself in a book. There is a misguided belief that the more books one reads, the more educated, enlightened, and admired one becomes. This notion implies that being able to recite facts from various fields or historical events, such as Shakespeare quotes, passages from Marcel Proust, or details about the French Revolution, somehow makes one superior. However, it is important to remember that true understanding and appreciation for literature or any other subject matter comes from a deeper engagement with the reading material, and not simply from an accumulation of facts or a race to read as many books as possible. Certainly, one can read quickly, consume vast volumes, and watch videos on a wide range of topics. I do that to a certain extent. However, insights found online, whether through YouTube videos, blog posts, or summaries, at most only provide a superficial understanding, which can function as a great introduction. Don't get me wrong, they could be a way into the great works of literature, but these sources offer a mere snapshot of the entire work. For example, I could tell you that Anna Karenina is about a married woman who has a love affair. However, this summary doesn't do justice to the depth and complexity of the Tolstoy novel. True appreciation of literature comes from engaging deeply with the material, going beyond the surface, and allowing yourself to be immersed in the world the author has created. You can certainly quote facts from the work of authors like Tolstoy, but you will never experience the full psychological revelation or the true joy that comes from reading books if you only rely on broad summaries or focus on reading as many books as possible in a short amount of time. Engaging with literature requires a deeper connection that cannot be achieved by merely aiming to read 50 or 100 books per year or reading as quickly as you can. When you look at someone like me and the books I recommend on this channel, you might think, wow, he reads so much. But whether you believe this or not, I am not a fast reader. I just happen to spend a lot of time reading. I take my time to read, but this allows me to truly immerse myself in the material and gain a deeper understanding and appreciation for the work. So rather than focusing on the amounts of books, on the number of books you read, or how fast you can read them, concentrate on the quality of your reading experience and the depth of your understanding. This approach will ultimately lead you to a more fulfilling relationship with literature. I have experimented with speed reading in the past, but it just didn't suit me well, and I don't think speed reading works for literature, definitely not for literary fiction. So instead, I have adopted a slow and steady pace for all my reading. I can sit down with a book for hours, slowly making my way through the pages, stopping to look up words or references that I don't understand before proceeding. And from time to time, I stop to reflect on what I am reading, or I read a passage out loud to myself, or just take a minute to marvel at the language used. Now, you may wonder, If I am a slow reader, how do I manage to read so many books and make recommendations? Well, there's really no secret. I read every day, usually for several hours. Consistency is the key here. So every day I dedicate 1 to 2 hours, sometimes more, to reading, whether it's a couple of chapters from a classic novel that I have read before, or a few pages of something new to me. It is my daily treat. It is truly one of the highlights of the day for me. Because once it becomes a habit and a part of your life, consistent reading would allow you to enjoy and appreciate the books you read fully, even if your pace is slower than that of others. And you should never compare your pace to that of other people, by the way. By prioritizing quality over quantity and making reading a daily habit, I have developed a deeper understanding of the material and truly savor the experience of engaging with literature. I don't even have to think about it anymore. Every morning I grab a book, I read a few lines, and then I put it away. Then, in the evening, I snuggle up with the same book again, or a different one sometimes, and read for a couple of hours straight. It's all about routines and making time for reading. And I know many people say they don't have time. You may be one of those people. But it's really about establishing a routine. So on busy days, for example, I can read for as little as 30 minutes, while on less hectic days, I read for several hours. It varies also through different periods in my life, but the key is setting aside a block of time for reading, nothing else. Recognizing that block of time as your time to slow down and devote yourself to that activity. It's also important to note, however, that reading may not always be enjoyable up front, especially when it comes to older, more challenging texts that use difficult or archaic language, or references that may not be so readily comprehensible to us today. So if you want to truly derive enjoyment from works by authors like Tolstoy, Proust, or Eliot, you need to invest time and put some effort into understanding their complexities. Embrace the process of slowing down, immersing yourself in the reading material, and making reading an integral part of your daily routine. I promise you that this approach will ultimately lead to a more rewarding and fulfilling experience with literature. Because to derive deeper pleasure from reading books, especially complex or older texts, you need to slow down. The power of having a routine helps eliminate excuses and resistance. Once you get into the groove of it, you'll discover that reading challenging texts can be truly enjoyable. You might even wonder why you hadn't been doing this all along. However, it is of course natural to feel tired, fall asleep, or face resistance while reading. It happens to me even to this day. Our modern world is filled also with offers of instant gratification, think social media, video games, even YouTube and the like. And many of us are so accustomed now to receiving information quickly that we rarely set aside time to truly slow down and appreciate a book. By committing to a consistent reading routine and allowing yourself to slow down and savor the experience, you can overcome any resistance and develop a deeper connection with the reading material. In doing so, you'll find that reading becomes not only a source of knowledge, but also, and more importantly, I think, a source of fun, pleasure, and personal growth. One thing I genuinely appreciate is those quiet moments in the evening when all my worries fade away and I can simply sit back or lay down and enjoy a couple of chapters of a great novel or a whole short story or a few poems. So please don't buy into the notion that you must read countless books in a short amount of time to be knowledgeable or feel accomplished. Instead, if you stretch out your time, if you're patient enough to maintain a longer reading horizon and commit to reading just a few chapters every day, you will discover that you will be reading much more and you will be deriving greater pleasure from the experience. Reading great books will no longer seem like an unattainable goal reserved only for a select few. You too can become an avid reader and a connoisseur of classic literature in due time. The true satisfaction you gain from reading the greatest works of literature goes beyond memorizing facts or memorizing the plot so you can recite it like a parrot on demand. For example, when someone recommends a book like In Search of Lost Time or Mrs. Dalloway, the experience of reading and understanding the text is what truly matters, not just being able to discuss the plot or the characters, which you will end up forgetting or getting wrong anyway. Indeed, the true power of reading literature lies in the fact that it can almost be a form of therapy, that it can provide a profound personal experience that may be difficult to put into words. And I truly believe that. For you to enjoy the therapeutic benefits of reading, patience is key, as well, of course, as having a broader time horizon. So instead of trying to rush through a book in a week, consider stretching your reading time over several weeks or months. For example, if you're tackling a challenging book like the aforementioned In Search of Lost Time or Don Quixote, don't feel pressured to finish it in just a couple of months. If needed, stretch it out for many months or even a year, a whole year. There's nothing wrong with reading only a few pages of an extremely dense book per day. The key is to be patient. Make reading a mandatory daily practice for you and savor the experience. Over time, you will notice your bookshelf filling up with more great books that you've read, and you will develop a deep sense of appreciation for works of literature. That's all for today's topic. I hope you enjoyed it and gained some insights. I will see you next time.